Hey, what's going on today, guys? Primal Sabbath here. Originally, I was going to do an unboxing and transformation, but I wasn't super happy with how that first recording turned out, and I didn't want to present that. So, as far as like unboxing goes, I mean, it's a typical masterpiece clamshell, and you got some stuff in it. Um, but this is one. This is the one that I've transformed several times at this point. So, I was comfortable doing it the first time. I just couldn't get some things to line up. Now I know what I'm doing a little bit more. So we're gonna just do a straight transformation video on this. If you want to know my thoughts in it, on it, as far as like the review goes, it's going up at the same time this video is. So, uh, check that out if you want to know some more details. So to go ahead and get into it, the instructions may have a certain way of doing things. I'm just gonna kind of do it what I feel is probably I wouldn't necessarily say better. I mean, there's always one way to skin a cat, but anyway, so go ahead and very similar to the original toy, you go ahead and loosen that up and then fold that up and over. You want to make sure that this piece turns for the tail articulation, so you want to make sure it's lined up with that before you fold that over. And then you can kind of fold this arm up, or what will be the arm. Anyways, it gets it out of the way so you can do some pretty crucial untabbing in here. So put your index finger there and your thumb there, and you'll kind of pinch, and that will cause that to come apart. And then do the same thing. Well, basically the same thing over there. So that'll kind of start loosening all this stuff up. And from here, get these little panels out of the way. Let's go ahead and straighten these legs out. Again, I mentioned it in the review. Just be careful, be wary of this piece. I can't tell if that's hairline fractures in there or not, or if it's just part of the plastic swirl. But anyways, just kind of be careful when handling this piece and doing things with it. So anyways, from there, we're going to, this likes to pop out a lot, but this little tab right here by my thumb is pegged into that slot right there on his leg for beast mode. So even kind of, getting it and moving it out the way, you can still rotate these pieces without having to worry about any transformation. But for the sake of showing that it's not a parts former, I'm going to do my best to kind of do this all on camera. So from there, what you'll do is you'll fold this piece open. This is on a spring. So this little piece is right here. There's a little tab there, and you can see there is a slot there. So that's going to collapse over that. Sometimes it holds, sometimes it doesn't. But to get it to hold, you'll just close that back up and give it a nice pinch. You'll rotate this around, and there's another tab, this one in the center right here, that tabs on to that top port right there. So while you rotate it, you essentially plug it in right there, and you can straighten this out and then straighten that out, and this will probably flop open. No big deal if it does. So let's try to do that again over here. So we will fold this in, and then kind of pull that loose, flip this around. Come on now. What are you doing? Maybe it'd help if we fold that out. There we go. That's what we needed to do. I meant to do that on the other one too. But anyways, like this one I think is the one that doesn't hold all too well. Yeah, it doesn't. But once you get this closed up in there, it will keep that piece locked on. So again, fold all that stuff out. This, if you happen to be able to do it while it's already there, you can flip the side guns out. So then we'll rotate these around, and then you can kind of just straighten these out and flip the heel spurs out. They're going to give you a little bit of a time. They're pretty tight, which is good. And anyways, like I said, this is going to kind of flop downwards a little bit, but for the most part, just sort of This does a decent job at kind of keeping it there, but while we're back here, let's go ahead and before we split that, this pink bit again. I'll just get this out the way. You'll try to grab it back here if it'll focus. You want to try to grab it back there and just carefully, and you may have to two-hand it here, but you just want to carefully slide it forward till it sits kind of flush. You don't want to go too far. Once you feel the stopping resistance, like that's enough. Then you can fold these bits open, and you've essentially got his entire lower body done, all in that one shot. So now, on mine, this little tab in here, right there, you can probably see that white streak, even with all of this glare in the way. But it's a little stressed. The other one isn't. The other Megatron I have isn't. So this is just going to be my my mess around with Megatron because of that. But anyways, you kind of, let's see, a lot of this will start to sort of untab, but you want to get into here, but you don't want to pull apart too bad, but you kind of lift up on this. You can see there's a little, well, you can't. There is a little tab right there, and that was kind of what was holding that in. And then you lift up on that, you can see there's some little clips there. Now you're starting to see everything sort of come from together. Just get in here, and there you go. Give it a little, just a little tug. It doesn't take a lot. And you can see it's kind of like on a clip system, similar to the original, which, like, a lot of what's about to happen right here is very similar to the original, and I like it a lot. It's very similar to his show transformation and all that, so that's really cool. Now with this, you're going to want to kind of pull this out. Again, kind of get in there and pull that out. So that gets it out of the way from these tabs that they kind of, you can't see any of that. Gets it away from these tabs that these little pieces interlock into. Keeps it from stressing anything out. And you'll just want to, fold these little T-Rex arms down just to get them out of the way. That's kind of a position they'll be in later, but that lets you have all this kind of folded back and out of the way. And then from here, this is where things get tricky. Come back to this spot. If you want to, you can go ahead and lift this up. This is the head assembly. And it'll kind of clip in there. So there's a black piece there, and there's the black piece that my thumb is on. Those got to separate, and it's not the best separation. Actually, head came off the ball joint. To be honest, that's actually the first time that head's popped off of that ball joint, but we'll see if we can put it back in there. I think it's already back in there. So that's all well and good. Anyways, if you want to, I would recommend kind of keeping that down in there. And it's going to want to rotate just because all this is sort of loose, but you're going to want to make sure you kind of grab a hold of this whole black piece here and just sort of wiggle it. Just give it a little wiggle while you're pulling it. You don't want to put too much stress on it, and that'll cause it to come up. And you can bring that up. And very similar to Dinobot, he's got this kind of this kind of like neck hinge joint assembly that I haven't really seen pointed out. I didn't even point it out in the review, if I'm being honest. But it would allow him to do a bunch of crazy looking downward poses and things like that, which is really cool. So now that we've got him here and he's kind of all over the place and he's all flippity-floppity around, we're going to, all right, you're going to take this piece, you're going to fold that in, you're going to fold that in, and then you can see there's these little like rail pieces right here, and they're going to go into these slots on either side. So you're going to fold this down. Make sure you're kind of pushing that down while you're doing it. But while you're doing that, you want to bring this black piece, which is the waist, you want to bring that up because there's a little bitty tab right there. It's probably hard for the camera to stay in focus. There's a little tab right there, and it's going to slot in to the chest under there, which you definitely can't see. But if you've got it, you know what I'm talking about. So you want to make sure that kind of lines up, and then basically you'll see these little clips. You can kind of see it right there. There's one. But if that lines up, you just give it a little squeeze. Okay, it didn't line up. Again, try to line it up. Make sure those pieces are going in there, lined up. And nope. One more time for good luck. It can be a little tricky. It's actually, for whatever reason, it's more tricky on camera than it is in hand, but that's just kind of the name of the game, I guess. So, again, we're going to bring that down and slide that in. It's still not wanting to line up for some reason. And I don't know why, but I aim to figure it out. Oh, there we go. So the issue is this piece has to be folded up, like all the way up, because if it's not, it's going to cause a little bit of resistance, and that's why it wasn't closing all the way. So again, all the way down, make sure this piece is as collapsed as it can be in there, and then you'll push it forward, and that's all she wrote. But it'll kind of clip on those little pieces there, and it's fine. So, and that's what keeps the this piece from flopping back down, and also gives you a little hidden app crunch. Almost forgot what my joints were called. All right, we'll move these pieces out the way, these wings, now that we can kind of get him standing for the most part. And we will, let's see, we'll take this, kind of extend this out, and that'll just kind of fold down and clip in. You can do whatever you want to with this. I like biceps facing forward, so there's that. The robot eye, or the dino eyes rather, you can flip those up into the skull like that if you want to. I like leaving them down because they were always emoting in this mode. And again here, you want to make sure that, I don't know if you can see that piece in there, you want to make sure that it is kind of positioned this way, because like if it's turned sideways, or hang on, basically like the way these shoulder pads come off is like they turn sideways on it, but if it's like this, they're not going to pop off. So that's essentially what I was trying to get at. But anyways, and we'll just leave that like that for right now. Let's focus on this backpack, which is probably the coolest part of this entire transformation, if I'm being honest. And again, look at oh, there's popping out. If you pull on it too hard, I guess it will, but you can get that downward look, which is just crazy. All right, so the coolest part of this entire transformation are these little wing bits. So for the most part, you can see here, you're going to want to kind of position them in like a Z. That's basically where you want them. And then from there, you're going to take this. You'll see there's a little tab right there, a little slot right there. I know I got the exposure up kind of, but I want to make sure like this is something that everybody can see. And just know where to put some leverage on these hinge joints, and you should be fine. And then from there, there's a hinge joint right there, and then there's one kind of on this piece right here. But that, you're going to see this, it's going to line up to some little grooves in here. You kind of got to work with it. It's not going to tab in all the way perfectly, but once you kind of maneuver it around, get it to where it's just right, they should line up. And like I said, they don't have to tab in. It's not a requirement. But come on now. For some reason, this side is always more difficult for me. The other side, I can get it to work like a charm, but This one is just a little bit tricky. So, anyways, just kind of, if it doesn't tab in or whatever, it's nothing to really worry about. It's not a necessary thing. So from there, you're gonna come up here, you're gonna fold this piece down, and you are going to slide this down and around, and this whole assembly of just folded kibble junk is going to come up, and you got another tab here that's going to go into that slot right there. Let's focus her in. So you will get that, and then just position this little dino arm right there. And again, if you had to mess with this, just bring it back to that sort of Z position. Now this one, like I said, has always been super easy for me. So we'll fold that down. And again, it's not going to hard tab in. It's just going to kind of lightly stay there. And then this, we're going to bring in, just kind of work it on those two joints if you need to. Again, it's not gonna stay like pegged in or anything. It's just kind of there for support. Swing that down and around. Fold this up. Get that little dino arm out the way. Find the little tab and the little slot, and then give it a peg. Bring that little dino arm down. Now, what's awesome is instead of just having these like wing bits sort of flapping around, you got a peg there, you got a slot there. And you are going to, and this likes to come undone, but you're going to kind of line them up, and again, bring this back into that sort of Z formation, and they will just clip together like that, and you got a nice solid backpack. Nothing, moving around, nothing, asymmetrical on it. It's all perfectly engineered. And then from there, we'll take this bit, and we'll kind of pull and accordion this out. There's a little clip in there, and there's the male part of that clip, and that'll clip on. And you just sort of bring this down around like that, and you got Megatron in his robot mode. Close those up, and you can sort of do whatever you want to or need to do with that little hand bit. I personally don't particularly care for it this way. I still kind of like it sunk in there. I don't really know if there's a better way of doing that, but you can kind of sort of keep it like it was in the beast mode configuration, or like find a happy medium, but that is kind of part of the deal. So options and all that, you can't beat it. So other than that, oh, one more thing, you kind of push these little pieces back right here, and that'll sort of lock everything in. But I mean, you still have the butterfly and this joint and this joint, so you got plenty of choices here with the arms. So, and that is a transformed Masterpiece Megatron. That's how I do it. People can, do it however they seem, whatever they think the easiest way is. But this is kind of it for me. So there we go. And again, like, this is gonna break up the sculpt, but whatever. You can do what you want. You can have the biceps inwards. You can have the biceps pointing out. I just like them pointing out. But there's a little bit of a however you see fit sort of stuff going on here. And I dig it. I dig it a lot. So, fun transformation, very reminiscent of the original, and but just in a nice updated form. So, there's that. If you want some of my thoughts on the figure in either of the modes, then you can check out the review for it. Again, like, they're both going up at the same time. So, there's that. So anyways, if you guys have any questions or comments, drop them in the comment box. I'll do what I can to answer them. Hopefully I was able to kind of show this off and explain this a little bit better. And anyways, see you guys in the next review.